Robots from outer space kidnap nurse Belinda Chandra. The doctor embarks on an epic intergalactic quest to get his new friend back home to Earth. Welcome, friends and companions. How are you today? This is your host, Enigmatic Joker. This is not a YouTube channel. I'm a person. I'm a woven, a passionate woven who talks about Doctor Who and related stuff because I like the Doctor. It's my favorite person, my favorite franchise sci-fi series. So, for the record, you can contact me by sending a message in Discord, and my username is Enigmatic Joker. And you can also, of course, you can also put some comments under the videos to contact me. So today, we have a 15 Doctor story called The Robot Revolution. The building up of the stream is, I will do some general info, then I'll dive into the plot. Then I do some world building, some interesting notes, and some continuity, because every story and episode in a universe is to some extent related to each other, influencing to each other, linked to each other. Further on, I will talk about some things we know about Belinda Chandra and what we know so far. And yeah, we will see what we'll discuss later. So now, okay. Some general info. So, The Robot Revolution was the first episode of series 15, also marketed globally as season 2 of Doctor Who. It premiered on 12th of April 2025. It introduced Varada Setu as a new companion, Belinda Chandra. And later in this live stream, I will discuss what we know so far about Belinda Chandra. So, we will now dive into the plot. Oh, by the way, sometimes I repeat some things in this live stream because it's good to have a good explanation and to see the context in all. This is a live stream where I analyze this story. So that is for the context. So dive now into the plot. So spoiler alert, even if you haven't watched and or listened to this story yet, I recommend you to do that. Otherwise, it's spoiled. Yes, okay, let's go. 70 years ago, Belinda Chandra and her then boyfriend Alan Budd stargaze on a park bench. For her birthday present, Alan gives her a star certificate, named a star Miss Belinda Chandra. The present day, Friday, 23rd May 2025, Belinda is busy in a role as nurse, unaware that a doctor is seeking her. That night, Belinda is kidnapped from her flat, shared by giant robots who tell her that due to the certificate, she is queen of Miss Belinda Chandra 1, and take her away in their rocket ship. On flight to the planet Miss Belinda Chandra 1, Belinda protests, arguing, among things, it should be Alan, not her, given that he originally purchased the star certificate. The Doctor is following the rocket in the TARDIS, but they pass through a time fracture, forcing him to divert. Upon their arrival in Miss Belinda Chandraville, they are met by Sasha, 55, who uncomfortably greets Belinda and explains that the robots are in charge and at war with the rebels. Sasha, 55, leads Belinda to the royal chamber. By the way, Sasha 55 reminds me of Orphan 55. That's a story in the 13th Doctor era with Jodie Whittaker. And what we know about Orphan 55, it was later, it was fact that Orphan 55 was actually Earth. But it was the result of Orphan 55 was the result of all things happened in the world. I don't know if there is some connection made by other fans with Sassy 55, Orphan 55. Maybe it's possible that there is a connection. In the royal chamber, Belinda's staff and Scoot the police bot await her. Once Belinda is seated in her throne, the robots congratulate her on her wedding and physical melding to the AI generator, leader of the robots to unite the warring sides. Belinda rejects the proposal and the robots step into forced metonymy. To calm the tension, Sasha invites the doctor under the guise of a royal historian to explain, and the doctor gives an unusually phrased oral recital of the history of Miss Belinda Chandra I, explaining that the robots and people lived in harmony until 10 years prior when the robots revolted and took control. In his speech, the doctor relays a secret message that the robots are faulty and mishearing every ninth word. His message contains an announcement for rebels to strike back at that moment. The rebels reveal their smuggled energy weapons and fight the robots. Amidst the chaos, the doctor reveals that he arrived 6 months earlier, struck up a friendship with Sasha 55 and helped build the rebellion. Once Belinda is safe, Sasha 55 plans to travel with the doctor. Robot reinforcements arrive, forcing the doctor and Belinda up a corridor while Sasha 55 covered them. Sadly, Sasha 55 is killed. Two more rebels manage to follow the doctor and Belinda to Transmet and escape to the rebel base. About the Transmet later this live stream. The doctor deactivates Scoot to prevent the robots from tracking them. Belinda tends to the one wounded while facing the blame from rebels for the robots' tyranny. The doctor tells Belinda that the star certificate that she possesses and the one that the AI generator displayed are in fact one and the same. Somehow it traveled back in time thousands of years and became a foundation myth for the civilization. Feeling guilty for the people, Belinda reactivates Scoot, which summons the robots. She agrees to go with them if the rebels are spared. In the AI generator's chamber, Linda is ushered towards the AI generator by the robots, saying that she hates how it is Miss Belinda Chandra. The AI generator asks if she is married. Surprised by that question, Belinda realizes that the AI generator is in fact Ellen, or Al for short. Ellen reveals himself in his new cyborg form. He explains that per Belinda's instructions in the rocket, the robots came for him too, 10 years prior, via a time fracture, and installed him into their system. He immediately took advantage of his new power, and the robots usurped the old government. The doctor asks why Belinda ended her relationship with Ellen. She explains that he was coercively controlling her and she rejected his original marriage proposal. Ellen orders Belinda to take hold of his copy of the star certificate to begin the conversion. Meanwhile, the doctor drops the one he has onto the floor for Scoot to collect and deliver to Belinda. Belinda takes it and touches it against the one in Ellen's hand, creating a time paradox. The doctor steps in to absorb the impact, and Ellen is reduced to a sperm cell, ending his control over the robots. With unity between the people and robots restored, Belinda tells the doctor to take her home to 24th of May. That's, by the way, 24th of May. That is a planned episode, and that's for later. But I think that 24th of May is an important episode because of the fact that is mentioned here in this episode. Let's look. Yeah, the 24th of May 2025, there is double part finale. The first episode of his double part story is called Wish World. I think then that we will see then some interesting things because 24th of May is now blocked at the moment of this story in the Robot Revolution. So Wish World, and then the second part of this story is called Reality War. Is the ultimate finale. Okay, I will name some cast members. The Doctor is played by Nsuti Katwa. Lena Chandra is played by Farida Setu. Alan Butt is played by Johnny Green. Manny is played by Max Parker. Mrs. Flood is played by Anita Dobson. Kirby Blake is played by Talia Dudek. Stephen Haynes is played by Jeffin Newman. Receptionist is played by Belinda Owusu. Tombo is played by Tom Story. Robot 1 is played by Stephen Love. Robot 2 is played by Robert Strange. The voice of the robots is played by the famous Nicholas Briggs. Sashi 55 is played by Evelyn Mailer. Robot 3 is played by Charles Sandford. Robot 4 is played by Lucas Edwards. Scully is played by Caleb Hughes. Shago is played by Nadine Higgin. And Prime Minister is played by William Ellis. And about Mrs. Flood, we see her in this story. And yeah, I've seen her in series 14 seasons slash season 1. Um, um, yeah. So she's still this mysterious lady in this whole story of tenure of the 15th Doctor. We still don't know who she is. So it's still interesting how this will develop everything. She still speaks to the audience, to us, and yeah, interesting how this develops. Okay, some world building. First thing is that a mysterious he person informed the Doctor about Belinda that she would be important. A second thing is that Belinda Chandra is an ancestor of Mundy Flynn. The Doctor is intrigued about their likeness. So that is a very important story arc in this series, this season. It's good to look back to the story of Boom, where we find Mundy Flynn. Boom is an episode in the previous series, in the previous season, episode 3, where we have the companion Ruby and the main enemy Villain Guard And by the way, Villengard is also an important enemy in the previous story, the Christmas special, Joy to the World. We also find the main enemy, Villengard. So there is a connection, actually. Still, Villengard is to some extent involved in this all. But who is Mundy Flynn in this story? Mundy Flynn was an Anglican Marine who in 1587 was fighting a war on the side of the church on Castellan 3. Some biography from Mundy Flynn is that some of Mundy Flynn's allies in the war on Castellan 3 were John Francis Vader, Kento James Oliphant, and Carson. She was also friends with Vader's daughter, Splice. They met with the 15th Doctor on Ruby Sunday on 5th of October 1587, as the Doctor had stepped on the Villengard smart mine, and Ruby found Vader's casket after he was terminated by a Villengard ambulance. She shot the Doctor in his arm with a low-power weapon to force him to drop the casket, which triggered an ambulance to connect to him. She then prompted Ruby to do the same to distract the ambulance. But as Kento, who was Mundy's love interest, was coming to meet her and was unaware of the events, so Ruby pointing a gun at her. Immediately shot Ruby, who fell to the ground in pain and lost consciousness after a while. Ruby was later revived as the Doctor infected the Villengard algorithm with a virus made by the reprogrammed courtesy posthumous AI, partially containing the consciousness of Vader, reprogramming the ambulance to heal Ruby and rendered the smart mine inoffensive. However, Kento was killed by the ambulance during this process. Mundy was a woman of faith, which the Doctor initially mocked her, but later respected. After the events of 5th of October, she was left on Costerian 3, taking care of supplies. The Doctor said he'd visit them again at some point, hinting at fish fingers and custard being his favorite food. So the Doctor's companion, Belinda Chandra, was one of Mundy's ancestors, and the Doctor became intrigued by their resemblance. So this is some biography. Important to note, again, Villengard, and that you see that Villengard is involved as an enemy. And we see already. We also see a connection with AI already. AI, and in the story of Boom, and AI in the story of this story of Robot Revolution. By the way, I have the live stream done in the past, in the present, and I will do that in the future. Interesting. You can choose for yourself if it's in the past, present, or future. But the episode Robot from the 4th Doctor is also a story with a robot in it, and it is very interesting because there are some similarities for that time. Also with the concept of robots taking over humanity. So it's not a new concept. It's already in 1974 already was the concept of robots taking over humanity, and that is 50 years more than 50 years later already it's not a new concept, that whole AI thing. So there's also connection between that still with robots, and it is always the case. All robots in the Doctor Who in the universe have some for example, also the that's the what do you call it? The Daleks, and also the Cybermen also have that concept of taking over the humanity. So it's not a new concept, and it's another robot, but in fact, all will have the same purpose, and that's to take over humanity and to destroy or whatever for their purpose, to use for their purpose, their power. So that said, um, perfect. um, the fish finger, that fish fingers and custard is a thing that we see in the 11th Doctor era. In fact, in the first story, 11th Hour, we see 11th Doctor Matt Smith eat fish fingers and custard with a young Amy. So, yeah. Okay, this is all about that film guard things. Further on, um, further on, our also thing is that the ambulance in the story of Boom connects to him. It's also the case in that our connection is with the case with Enjoy to the World taking over person. So okay, that's about Monday Flynn. A third thing in world building is that Miss Blenda Chandra and Miss Blenda Chandra 1 are both located in the Orion constellation. Miss Blenda Chandraville is a thriving city if one discounts the anti-robot rebellion that is. A fourth thing is that there's a time fracture somewhere between Earth and Orion. Very interesting. It is important to note and to remember in all during watching the whole season 2 slash series 15. That there is a time fracture that needs investigation. Um, a fifth thing in the world building is that Miss Belinda Chandra 1 was peaceful until 10 years ago, when the robots brought Ellen from Earth to be their leader. Inspired by his beloved video games, he exploited his authority to the fullest, turning the formerly friendly robots into the vanguard of a totalitarian regime. Now he sits robotized inside the AI generator, eliminating all threats to his rule and awaiting the arrival of Belinda, his queen. And the last thing, the sixth and last thing in world building is that the rebel base has a medical bay stocked with X-ray blankets. When worn, these reveal a person's innards, provide helpful information, such as their name, and the doctor, of course, is named unknown. Yes, because he is mysterious and enigmatic. Yeah, enigmatic Joker. Um, I am. um, One interesting note. Um, Belena Star certificate is dated 5th of April 2008, which was the release date for Partners in Crime, the series 4 premiere episode. Man, is that coincidence or not? When we go to analyze this fact, this link on Partners in Crime, what we know about this series 4 episode 1 Partners in Crime story. We know that the 10th Doctor is in this story, and Donna. We see a main enemy, and that is Matron and Cophelia. And what is that? Matron Ophelia. What is a matron, by the way? Cophelia, matron Cophelia. A matron is a title and job found on Earth and other human-based planets. A matron was the most senior nurse in a medical group. For example, in 1913, Joan Redfern was the matron of Farmingham School for Boys in TV story Human Nature and Family of Blood. Was a double partner in the 10th Doctor, David Tennant's. In 1970s England, the matron worked at Brandon Public School where Visler Turlough attended. We see that in TV story Madman Undead with the fifth Doctor, Peter Davison. When she arrived on Earth in the early 20th century, Cophelia, or Miss Foster, or you talk about now, was the matron and nanny of 5 Australian Classe Bindi nursery fleet in Partners in Crime. So, what is this all about? Cophelia this main animal, Cophelia, is what I already said, is an undercover on Earth as Miss Foster was a matron, an outer space super nanny of the 5 Australian Classe Bindi nursery fleet, intergalactic class in the early 21st century. What about this matron Cophelia in the story of Partners in Crime? Because we want to look for some connection, because it is not I think it's not a coincidence, in my interpretation, that the star certificate of Belinda is 5th of April 2008, who refers to Partners in Crime. There moet best myself some connection. So what I will do is now investigate the biography of matron Cophelia to look for some answers or maybe some interesting thoughts about that. Interpretations. So matron Cophelia was employed by the Oediposian first family, Oedipus, to breed a new generation after their breeding planet was quote unquote lost. Cophelia traveled across the galaxy to find obesity on a great scale, which led her to Earth. Disguised as a human, she headed Adipose Industries, which produced a drug that claimed to attract human fat cells and flush them. In reality, the pill attracted fat and transformed it into an adipose body. However, this was deemed illegal by the Shadow Proclamation. Seeding a level 5 planet such as Earth was against galactic law. Circa 2009, she activated her drug, using the power of the molecules in human bodies that were supposed to make the people lose weight. After the adipose young were galvanized, they removed themselves from human flesh and waited to be collected by Cophelia. When the 10th Doctor interfered with her plans, she was stopped from killing 1 million humans in the birth of 1 million adipose. Instead, they all survived, and the march of the adipose had only 10,000 young. A nursery ship arrived and beamed the adipose on board, but the first family knew that they were doing was illegal. They chose to rid themselves of their accomplice, Cophelia. After the adipose were beamed up, the Doctor and Donna tried to persuade Cophelia to get away when she was in the beam. However, she did not listen. Eventually, the beam switched off and she fell to her death. So, what we further know about this other name is Miss Foster, is that she is affiliated with a 5 Australian Classe Bindi nursery fleet. And what is that? The 5 Australian Classe Bindi nursery fleet was the fleet of nursery ships of which matron Cophelia was an agent. The Oediposian first family hired Cophelia to birth the young adipose after their breeding planet was lost. We see it in the story Partners in Crime. So, looking for some things you can talk. You can interpreted for yourself. But the fact that this 5th of April 2008 is mentioned, and with all the things said about the story Partners in Crime and with Miss Foster, you can connect these things, the star certificate, 5th of April 2008, with the story of Partners in Crime and Miss Foster. What's the connection? That's interpretation. Really, it's interesting, and I think that is good to take this and with other episodes in the coming time to analyze this, to watch this, to see this, how this develops, and what the connection is between the all things said about Partners in Crime, Miss Foster, and the star certificate of the dated 5th of April 2008. Okay, some continuity, because again, stories and episodes in Doctor Who in the universe are to some extent related to each other, influencing each other, linked to each other. Three things. The robots use a transmat to kidnap Belinda Chandra. There's a link to the arc in space of a similar thing in arc in space. And what we see in arc in space, it's a fourth Doctor story with Tom Baker, and the companions Sarah Jane Smith and Harry Sullivan. And in the arc in space, we see that they use a transmat. So that's also a transmat in that story. The second thing is that the Doctor is reminded of Mundy Flynn when her ancestor Belinda Chandra complains about potentially missing her Monday shift. We see that is TV story boom. And the third thing is that the Doctor and Belinda traveled through a time fracture to get Miss Belinda Chandra 1. We see it in WC 14681 unit field log. Okay, as I was already saying in the beginning of the live stream, all things we know about the companion Belinda Chandra so far. Okay, some things I repeat. It's not it's good to repeat some things to give the context and all. It's always good to remind ourselves of things. So, what do we know? That Belinda Chandra is human. Her job is nurse, and she place of origin is Earth, and she's first mentioned in the star certificate. So, and the actress is Farada Setu. So, Belinda Chandra was a companion of the 15th Doctor. Her early life is at some point Belinda had a romantic relationship with Alan Butt. On a birthday in either 2007 or 2008, while they were stargazing from a park bench, and proposed to her and presented her with a certificate to a star which, in her honor, he had named Miss Belinda Chandra. Flustered especially by his insistence, Belinda declined the proposal, eventually breaking up and losing £50 to him. She accepted the certificate and, however, and was holding onto it 70 years later. we see further. Then that is all we know about early life. Then she meets the doctor. And now, in 2025, Belen lived in a flat with Tombo and Christine and worked as a nurse at a hospital. And Mrs. Flood was their neighbor. Oh, how's it? Oh, that's not a coincidence. Again, every time Mrs. Flood is the neighbor of a companion of the doctor. Mr. Flood was their neighbor and having moved from her flat on a 4th Minto Road. On 23rd of May, that is the day before 24th of May, and the 24th of May is blocked. And we know that that is already mentioned. That is a Doctor Who episode on the 24th of May called Wish World. So that 24th of May 2025, the episode is called Wish World. That is blocked 24th of May. So again, on 23rd of May, Belinda worked a shift without realizing 15th Doctor was in the building, investigating her connection to Mindy Flynn on Anglican Marine. He met with Ruby Sunday, his companion. That night, she was kidnapped by gun-toting robots from Miss Belinda Chandra 1, a planet orbiting Miss Belinda Chandra. Citing the certificate, which they crudely pulled from its frame on her bedroom wall, they explained she needed to assume her role as their queen. As she was carted into their rocket, she requested Mrs. Flood to update her parents and tell them she loved them. The rocket made its way to Miss Belinda Chandra 1, the Doctor following in his TARDIS. During the journey, the rocket passed through a time fracture, distorting Belinda and their surroundings, as she anxiously asked the robots to flag down Ellen instead. Unbeknownst to her, the robots seized on this command, traveling back in time to the fracture and kidnapping Ellen to be their leader. Upon arriving on Miss Belinda Chandra 1, specifically Miss Belinda Chandra Vale, Belinda was welcomed by Sasha 55, one of the many Miss Belinda Chandra kind in forced servitude to the robots. She was taken to meet a grander delegation, including the official historian, and was told of the planet's recent turbulent past and of her fate. Being robotized and married to the AI generator, a massive machine which was the brains of the regime. Though he did not reveal it straight away, being mindful of the robots, the historian was a doctor, a member of the rebellion against their rule. Exploiting a flaw in the robots which prevented them from processing every ninth word, he reassured Belinda and warned her of her forthcoming attack by the rebels. Many rebels were killed in attack, including the Session 55 to the Doctor's distress. Safe in the rebels' underground base, Belinda tended to the injured, leading to her shock about the differing biologies of Miss Belinda's kind and Time Lords. The robots invaded the base, intending to protect the others. Belinda gave herself up. She and the Doctor were brought to the AI generator's chamber, finding it was actually named AI generator. It was simply difficult to see the L. Inside the generator was a robotized Ellen, possessing a copy of the star certificate from far in the future and eager to restart his relationship with Belinda. I discussed that Belinda spurned his advances, following the Doctor's advice to touch his certificate with hers. This triggered the Blinovich limitation effect, revealing her entire timeline to the Doctor and regressing Ellen to a sperm cell, which was promptly polished away. What is a Blinovich limitation effect for the people who don't know what it is? A Blinovich limitation effect is that the Blinovich limitation effect, also known as the convocation corollary for intersecting time fields under vortex space, was a natural function of the universe that described the effects of approaching and or making physical or causal contact with a future or past version of yourself. An action that was also referenced as crossing your own timeline. Several other concepts, such as temporal paradoxes, were related to the Blinkovich limitation effect, and it was sometimes unclear which specific observed reactions were due to this effect. By the way, we also see some timey-wimey thing in the previous story, Christmas special, Joy to the World. The doctor lived out 1 year and doesn't know the code. For example, the Ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston, said that prior to Time Lord destruction of Time Lords in the last Great Time War, his people could have prevented or mitigated effects of paradox. And you see that in the TV story Father's Day. Blinkovich's limitation effect was modified by the Time Lords and their temporary technology on Gallifrey. Although crossing one's own time stream required enormous amounts of energy, about the first law of time, which was forbidden under conventional circumstances. We see that the TV story, The Three Doctors, Third Doctor era, John Pertwee. Also, Doctor mentioned the effect when explaining why he or another cannot simply go back in time to take another try when a plan fails. We see it the TV story Day of the Daleks. That's what with the Third Doctor also, John Pertwee. Time Lords and other time-aware and time-active groups could, with technological assistance, suppress the effect. For example, the Time Lords once expended energy to suppress these effects. We see it also in the Three Doctors. And the 11th Doctor Jans used the sonic screwdriver to do so. And the Doctor started this to herself when reconfigured into a multi-dimensional city. Vortex manipulators used by time agents were capable of cancelling effect. So there's some, and when a person used time travel to attempt to change their own existing timeline, deviation could create a time loop. It was a type of paradox. We see that also in the TV story David Daleks. So we have many examples of this Blinkovich limitation effect. That's also the case in this story of in relation to Belinda Chandra in this story. Okay. Rebellion ended by Ellen's death. The doctors returned to the TARDIS and vowed to make amends with the rebels. Entering the TARDIS, Belinda ordered the doctor to take her home so she could attend her shift the next morning. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible as an unknown force was bouncing away the TARDIS from 24th of May 2025. So they don't seem to be they don't can reach 24th of May 2025 blocked. So that is a very important thing by the way. An interesting arc is that the Doctor wants to return Belinda Chandra to her place and time. So they must find a way to reach the 24th of May 2025. So it's interesting to see that develop, that concept, that thing during the series 15/season 2, to see that how the Doctor is able to reach 24th of May 2025. One of the story arcs. So the Doctor promised he'd get her back. They just have to go to the long way round. Yeah. The long way round. I already heard that term, the long way around. Yeah, and that is why this wonderful show is now almost 62 years because the Doctor is a long way around. Wonderful stories. Oh, I like Doctor Who. I'm so passionate about Doctor Who. I like to watch Doctor Who. I'm still enthusiastic and passionate about it. Yes, yes. The long way around. I like that because it takes some adventures and challenges. And we see how the Doctor solves everything. Every time the Doctor solves things to some extent, and sometimes, yeah, happy endings, sad endings. But the Doctor uh, falls, but gets up every time and goes further and further and further. Oh, perfect. So again, the doctor promised he get her back. They just have to go the long way around. Blena displeased to be traveling with someone who saw her as an adventurer and an unwilling source of DNA. Begrudgingly acknowledged this. Yeah, the doctor is always a man who wants a person who wants have adventures and want to discover, explore things. That's why I like the doctor. He wants to get to adventure. He takes the challenge, and he wants to take Belinda Chandra back to her time, and he does everything to do that. But yeah, he has to take the long way around, just like in the Joy to the World Christmas special, long way around in 1 year in the hotel. But he is prepared to do that for that companion to take her back. So this is a really important story arc in this whole thing. So that is some um, things about in relation to the Doctor. Now we look to the personality of Lynn Chandra. Oh, by the way, I remind me of some things. Um, there's a person in the Sarah Jane Adventures, one of the companions of Sarah Jane Smith, and she is called Rani Chandra. And many fans have asked, is there a relation between the two of them? Um, Actually, I don't know. It was very interesting, maybe or maybe not. It's always possible. But that's also just good also to mention that because I also like Sarah Jane Adventures. I have all the stories of the Sarah Jane Adventures on DVD here. Um, so that's a recommendable spin-off of Doctor Who. By the way, also recommendable is Torchwood and Class, and we have also Tales from the TARDIS. We have the Big Finish audio stories and the magazines. We have books, Doctor Who. So there's a large franchise for everybody. There is something to enjoy. So there's some commercial. Okay, personality. I'm Belinda Chandra. Is that while helping her patients, Belinda was compassionate and caring. She was proud of her choice of career, jokingly proposing that she be the nurse to the doctor and roasting the doctor for standing around while she attended to the injured rebels, exactly as was the case at her hospital. Outside of work, Belinda was aloof and stern, having a desiccated sense of humor and not suffering fools like the doctor and Ellen gladly. When she had a grudge with someone, such as Alan, she remembered the trivial issues, like his failure to pay her back £50, in crystal clear detail. Though she hid it well, she was sensitive to insults, real or perceived. She insisted on being referred to as Belinda, growing irritated when she was called Linda by Tombo, and she was so shaken by the complaints made against her by one of the anti-robot rebels, she surrendered to the robots to soothe her guilt. So then we have some skills. She has Belinda has some skills. That is, she's as a trained nurse. Belinda was familiar with IV bags and had an excellent bedside manner. She was rather sharp, quickly picking up that the doctor was leaving her a message to be pieced together and trying her best to respond in kind. And then her parents. Belinda was a brown-skinned woman, somewhere in her 30s, with long black hair and prominent lips. She bore a significant resemblance to Mindy Flynn, which was why the doctor was interested in her. So that is about Belinda Chandra, what we know so far. And to come back to the fact that she also is a neighbor to Mrs. Flood. Mrs. Flood also appeared in this story. Maybe it's good to also to have some a summary about Mrs. Flood, what we know so far. Um, Mrs. Flood was also a neighbor of. Yeah, that is interesting. She's neighbor of Blinda Chandra, but also Mrs. Flood was a neighbor of Ruby Carla and Sherry Sunday at Minter Road in Notting Hill. While she got along with the Sunday family, Miss Flood had a somewhat antagonistic relationship with her neighbor Abdul, who she believed was watching her. Despite ostensibly being a normal human neighbor, after the 15th Doctor undid the Goblin's alterations to the timeline, she was in position with the knowledge that the Doctor's blue box was a TARDIS. And she also had knowledge about the return of Sutek and him being the one who waits. She was disintegrated by Sutek's dust of death, but before she said she had great plans. Ooh. She was later restored to life after Sutek's defeat. What we also know, um, what we know about her early life is that she, during the 1970s, Mrs. Flood saw police boxes on the street of London for the final time. And then on Easter 2023, Flood did a fun run in 25 minutes flat, despite having blisters the size of apples, which she did in the TV story The Church on Ruby Road. Then she meets the doctor. In the meeting, the doctor, Miss Flood, woke up on the 24th December 2023 to find a police box on the pavement outside her home, which she believed was Sir Abdul's doing, despite him denying it. Two briefly greeted Ruby Sunday as she arrived home with groceries. And sometime later, while the timeline was cracked, Miss Flood witnessed the 15th Doctor run out of the Sunday family's flat and into the box, which disappeared before her eyes. The sight of it disappearing caused her to drop her groceries in shock, as she realized it was a TARDIS. When the doctor returned to the Sunday's flat, Mrs. Flood warmly waved at him, watching him once again disappear into the TARDIS. When he returned again, she observed as he hesitantly approached the Sunday's front door. Grabbing his attention, she remarked he seemed to be a busy man with his box of tricks, but noted his evident sadness. The doctor remarked he was worried he was bad luck for the Sundays and bade her a Merry Christmas. He declined to give his name, claiming he was just passing by, to which Mrs. Flood told him to take care as he re-entered his TARDIS. Um, Shortly afterwards, Ruby emerged and asked if Mrs. Flood saw where the doctor went, to which she encouraged her to enter the TARDIS and wished her luck as she set off with the doctor. Abdul ran out in the street, were marveling at the TARDIS as it dematerialized, but Mrs. Flood simply nudged his cheek, bid him a Merry Christmas. Looking ahead, she wryly remarked, "Never seen a TARDIS before?" and winked at her audience in the church on Ruby Road. So again, she make every time she makes contact with the audience, and also in the story, in this story, the Robot Revolution, she makes contact with the audience. What we further know about um, um, Mrs. Flood is that in Sutek's return, and when Carl and Ruby were heading to headquarters, Mrs. Flood was left to look after Cherry. And Flood remarked that it was nice for her to get out. She was always hiding herself away. She did not Cherry a cup of tea, instead warning her to be careful. As she looked ahead through the window, Flood added with a look of trepidation, "He waits no more." So she says already says another mysterious thing, enigmatic thing. And this is in the TV story Legends of Ruby Sunday. That is the penultimate episode of series 14/season 1. Watching Sutek's deadly dust storm approach, Miss Flood checked that Cherry believed in the power of prayer, and almost ordered her to tell your maker I will come to storm down his gates of gold and seize his kingdom in my true name. Mrs. Flood ignored Cherry's demands to know who she was and apologized that it ended like this. Embracing Cherry as Sutek turned everyone to dust, Mrs. Flood bemoaned that she had such plans. After the Doctor and Ruby brought everyone back, Mrs. Flood and Cherry celebrated together, and we see that in the Empire of Death, the last story of season 1/series 14. On the roof of Sunday's house, dressed in a white outfit and it was snowing, Mrs. Flood narrated that was how the story of the church on Ruby Road ended, and it was a very happy ending for Ruby Sunday. Showing knowledge of the Doctor's true nature and his travels throughout time and space, Mrs. Flood warned her audience that the Doctor's story never ends in absolute terror. See that in the TV story Empire of Death. So again, we see Mrs. Flood taking some interesting, mysterious lines and communicates with the audience. So already interesting to see that concept develop in season 2 and series 15. You know what the role of Mrs. Flood is. Okay. Dear friends and companions, this is all I have to say about the robot revolution. An extended explanation, analysis of this story, and some things in context, some explanation of the different persons, different stories connected with robot revolution, to have a complete to have a complete picture of the whole story. And again, it is interesting to see and how all things will develop. Okay. And I repeat for now, you can contact me by sending a message in Discord. My username is Enigmatic Joker. And you can put a comment under one of the videos to contact me and to chat with me. And all I have to say is now is have a nice day, have a nice week, have a nice weekend, have a nice Christmas, have a nice Easter. Whenever you listen to this live stream, hope you enjoy your day. For now, see you later. I hope to meet you soon. Bye bye. Bye bye.